Have you ever wondered why some women seem to effortlessly attract high-quality men? Men who are emotionally available, confident, kind, and serious about commitment? It's not luck. It's not about looks alone. And it's definitely not about playing games. The truth is, these women operate differently. They carry themselves with a presence that says, I know who I am, and I'm not afraid to wait for what I deserve. They don't chase love, they attract it. They don't beg for attention, they command respect. This isn't about manipulation or strategy. It's about mastering your mindset, your standards, and your energy. Because the best men aren't looking for someone to impress, they're looking for someone to build with. And the women who attract them, they're already living like they are the prize. So let's break down the 4 key habits these women live by. Habits you can start practicing today. To shift your love life from chasing to choosing, she knows her worth. And she acts like it. That's the quiet power that separates women who attract the best men from the rest. It's not just about saying I deserve better, but truly living it out in every choice she makes, every boundary she holds, and every situation she walks away from. A woman who knows her value doesn't need to explain it, defend it, or prove it. It's in her energy. It's in how she carries herself. It's in how she reacts when someone treats her less than she deserves. When a woman knows her worth, she doesn't chase after people who are inconsistent or confusing. She doesn't get hooked on someone's potential while ignoring their actual behavior. She's not trying to win anyone over. She's simply paying attention to who is already showing up, who is already consistent, who is already aligned with the kind of relationship she wants. And when someone doesn't meet that standard, she doesn't make excuses for them or take it personally. She simply lets them go, knowing that the right man won't make her question her value. He'll recognize it instantly. This kind of self-worth isn't loud or dramatic. It's not about being cold or distant. It's about being rooted. It's about being grounded in your self-respect. It's about knowing that being alone isn't a punishment. It's a privilege compared to being with someone who doesn't value you. And that mindset alone is what makes her so magnetic, because the best men, the ones who are secure, ready, and emotionally intelligent, are drawn to women who don't need to be saved or fixed. They're drawn to women who already stand on solid ground. A woman with real self-worth doesn't get pulled into the game of proving herself. She doesn't try to earn love through overgiving, over-explaining, or overcompensating. She understands that love isn't something to be earned, it's something to be shared. She knows that her presence, her attention, and her affection are gifts, not currency. So when a man starts pulling away, acting inconsistent, or playing hot and cold, she doesn't panic. She doesn't go into fixing mode. She doesn't spiral into self-doubt. She simply steps back, reassesses, and chooses peace over confusion. She also understands the difference between confidence and arrogance. Her worth doesn't come from pretending she's better than others. It comes from the quiet confidence of someone who has done the work. She's had heartbreaks. She's made mistakes. She's learned hard lessons. But through it all, she never let those experiences make her bitter or resentful. Instead, they made her wiser. They taught her what she will and won't accept. They sharpened her ability to recognize red flags early and to walk away not with anger, but with grace. This is the woman who doesn't need a relationship to feel whole, but she's fully open to love when it aligns with her standards. She doesn't view singleness as a waiting room. She lives her life fully. She builds her career, invests in her friendships, takes care of her body and mind, and nurtures her joy. That's what makes her irresistible. Not because she's trying to attract someone, but because she's already living a life worth sharing. And when the right man meets her, he sees that. He sees a woman who isn't looking for someone to complete her, but someone to complement her. What makes her so attractive is that her self-worth is not conditional. It's not tied to whether or not someone texts back. It's not shaken by whether or not she's chosen. She has already chosen herself. And from that place, everything changes. Her energy feels different. Her expectations feel different. And the way she navigates dating, relationships, and even rejection is completely different. She doesn't need constant validation. She doesn't fall apart when things don't go her way. She's anchored in the belief that what is meant for her will not miss her, and what misses her was never meant to stay. That's the foundation the best men are drawn to. Because men who are serious, secure, and emotionally mature aren't looking for someone to chase them, they're looking for someone who meets them in the middle, who knows who she is, and who expects the same level of clarity and respect she gives. A woman who knows her worth doesn't need to demand loyalty, consistency, or honesty. They come naturally in the kind of relationship she creates by refusing to accept anything less. In a world where many are willing to settle for crumbs, she waits for the feast. And she waits not in bitterness, but in strength. Not in desperation, but in peace. Because when you know your worth, you're not afraid to be alone. You're afraid to settle for anything less than what truly aligns with who you are. And that energy, that's what draws the best men in. A woman who attracts the best men doesn't play games. She communicates with clarity and class. She's not interested in confusing texts, power plays, or trying to make someone jealous. She knows that real connection starts with real communication, and she refuses to build relationships on mixed signals and silent expectations. Her strength lies in her ability to express herself honestly without being confrontational. She doesn't wait for someone to guess how she feels or what she needs. She communicates it in a way that is direct, calm, and confident. This kind of woman knows that expressing her needs doesn't make her needy. She understands that boundaries aren't walls, they're invitations for the right person to love her better. When she speaks, she's not trying to control anyone. She's simply offering clarity about who she is, what she values, and how she wants to be treated. That level of emotional intelligence is incredibly rare, and it naturally filters out men who aren't ready to meet her there. The ones who are intimidated by that kind of clarity are the ones who weren't going to show up fully anyway. She's not reactive, she's responsive. If something bothers her, she doesn't explode or shut down. She takes a breath, gathers her thoughts, and then addresses it in a way that promotes understanding rather than defensiveness. She might say something like, "When this happened, it made me feel unheard." Rather than lashing out or making assumptions, she communicates from a place of self-respect, not insecurity. That's what allows her to maintain her dignity even in emotionally charged moments. What makes her stand out is that she doesn't rely on unspoken rules or unrealistic expectations. She doesn't expect a man to read her mind or test his love by pulling away just to see if he'll chase her. She believes that love should feel safe, not strategic. She doesn't fear being honest because she knows that the right person will not be scared off by truth, they'll be drawn to it. And if someone does get scared off, that's a gift, It saves her time because she's not interested in relationships built on pretense. This kind of communication requires self-awareness. She doesn't speak just to be heard. She speaks to be understood. She listens just as much as she talks, and she pays attention to how her words land. She's not afraid to apologize when she's wrong, and she doesn't make everything a power struggle. For her, connection matters more than control. That's why men who are emotionally available and serious about love find her presence refreshing. It's not a guessing game. It's honest, it's warm, and it's real. She also knows when to say less. She understands that not every disagreement needs to become a debate. She chooses her words thoughtfully, especially when emotions are high. Silence, for her, is not a punishment. It's a space for reflection. She gives people room to speak, and she doesn't dominate conversations. She's firm without being forceful, assertive without being aggressive. That balance creates emotional safety for the right man to show up fully without fear of being misunderstood or attacked. This woman values her peace, so she doesn't waste her time in back and forth arguments that go nowhere. She knows that if someone continually dismisses or twists her words, it's not a communication problem, it's a respect problem. And she's not afraid to walk away from someone who refuses to meet her at that level. Her clarity becomes her filter. It protects her from chaos, confusion, and emotional games. Because she'd rather be alone than be in a relationship where she has to beg to be heard. What she teaches through her presence is this: love without communication is just a performance. She wants something real, and the best men, the ones who are looking for depth, stability, and emotional partnership, are drawn to that. They're not threatened by her honesty. They're grateful for it because it means they can build something solid, something lasting, something real. Even in moments of vulnerability, she speaks with strength. She might admit she's scared. She might say she needs reassurance, but she says it with grace, with emotional maturity, with an openness that invites connection instead of pushing it away. That's what sets her apart. She's not pretending to be unbothered. She's not playing it cool to protect her ego. She's showing up fully and trusting that the right man will meet her there. That's what creates trust. That's what builds intimacy. And that's why the best men don't just stay, they invest, because they see a woman who communicates like a partner, not like a puzzle. And they know that with her, they won't be walking on eggshells. They'll be walking in step, side by side, towards something real. A woman who consistently attracts the best men doesn't make a relationship the center of her world, because she already has a life that fulfills her. She's not sitting around waiting for someone to show up and give her purpose. Her days are filled with meaning, her goals inspire her, and her passions fuel her. That kind of energy is irresistible, not because she's unavailable, but because she's deeply connected to herself. She knows who she is beyond her relationship status, and that self-awareness gives her a radiant kind of confidence that draws in emotionally mature men. Her life is not on pause while she waits to be chosen. She's not putting off dreams, adventures, or self-growth for the right person to arrive. She's building her own path, and the right man becomes someone who enhances that journey, not someone who defines it. She goes after what excites her, whether it's her career, creative pursuits, learning something new, or building strong friendships. And because she's living a full, rich life, she's not coming into relationships from a place of need. She's coming from a place of abundance. This kind of independence doesn't mean she's closed off or uninterested in love. It simply means her identity isn't wrapped around whether or not she's in a relationship. She's not looking for someone to fix her, save her, or fill a void. She's already whole. And because she's not emotionally dependent, she doesn't cling. She gives space. She respects space. And she expects the same in return. That's incredibly attractive to a man who values emotional balance and maturity, because he knows she's not going to lose herself in the relationship or demand constant reassurance. She's the kind of woman who lights up when she talks about the things she loves, whether it's a cause she believes in, a project she's passionate about, or a goal she's working toward. Her enthusiasm is contagious, and that passion creates gravity. It draws people in. Men who are secure in themselves are fascinated by women who have their own fire, because they're not looking for someone to orbit around them. They're looking for someone who has her own axis, her own mission, and her own source of joy. She also doesn't tolerate being put on the back burner. Because her life is full, she doesn't cancel plans, abandon her priorities, or shrink her schedule to accommodate someone who isn't showing up properly. She's flexible, but she has limits. If a man wants a place in her world, he has to earn it with consistent effort, not just charming words. She's not easily swayed by promises. She pays attention to action. And if someone doesn't align with the pace or purpose of her life, she's not afraid to let them go. Not out of pride, but out of self-respect. What sets her apart is that she brings something to the table. She's not just looking to receive love, she's ready to give it too, but only when it's mutual. Only when it's healthy. Only when it fits into the bigger picture of the life she's already built. She's not interested in losing herself to love. She's interested in growing through it. The right man becomes a teammate, not a crutch. He becomes part of her world, not the center of it. That balance creates the foundation for a deeply respectful, inspiring, and lasting relationship. She knows that the right kind of connection should elevate both people. That's why she surrounds herself with people who inspire her, not drain her. She spends time doing things that grow her, challenge her, and bring her peace. And because she's so in tune with what makes her happy, she doesn't settle for surface level attention. She doesn't fall for potential. She wants presence, effort, depth. And she's not afraid to wait for it, because she's not rushing to escape her own life. She's enjoying it, even in love. She maintains her individuality. She keeps nurturing the parts of herself that existed long before the relationship, and she supports her partner in doing the same. She's not threatened by independence. She celebrates it. That dynamic is powerful, because it creates a relationship where two whole people come together to create something even stronger. Not through control or codependence, but through mutual respect and shared purpose. In the end, her lifestyle says everything. She doesn't need a man to feel valuable. She's already valuable, and that's exactly why high-quality men are drawn to her. Not because she's hard to get, but because she's hard to forget. Her life has a rhythm, a depth, and a passion that make her presence unforgettable. And the best men, they don't want to dim that light. They want to stand beside it, fuel it, and grow with it, because they see what she already knows. She's not just ready for love, she's ready for something real. A woman who consistently attracts the best men doesn't chase chemistry. She values consistency. She's not blinded by butterflies or swept away by charming words. She knows that while passion may ignite quickly, it's consistency that keeps a relationship burning over time. This woman has Learn that fleeting excitement isn't the same as emotional safety. She doesn't confuse intensity with intimacy. Instead, she looks for steady effort, genuine care, and actions that align with words. When she meets someone new, she pays attention to the small things. Is he reliable? Does he follow through? Is he showing up in the ways he says he will? She doesn't get carried away by early affection if it isn't backed up by continued investment. Because for her, the real measure of interest is not in how loud someone loves on day 1, but in how they show up on day 20, day 50, or day 100. That patience, that emotional maturity is what separates her from women who get caught in cycles of disappointment. She doesn't romanticize inconsistency. She doesn't cling to mixed signals and call it mystery. She's not addicted to the highs and lows of hot and cold behavior. In fact, she's repelled by it because she understands that love, when it's real, doesn't leave you confused. It doesn't keep you guessing. It makes you feel seen, safe, and valued. That's why the best men who are emotionally stable and serious about building something real, gravitate toward her. They recognize that she's not looking for a thrill, she's looking for trust. That's not to say she doesn't appreciate chemistry, she does, but she wants both. She wants the spark and the structure. She's not willing to sacrifice her peace for excitement. If she feels anxious more often than she feels assured, she's not afraid to walk away. She doesn't stay just because there's potential. She stays because there's proof. She's willing to give people time to reveal themselves, but not forever. She observes patterns, not just promises. Because she values consistency, she also practices it. Doesn't play hard to get. She's not sending mixed messages. Her interest is clear, her communication is honest, and her presence is stable. That kind of energy creates emotional security. It sets the tone for a relationship where both people can relax, open up, and build something meaningful without drama. And that's exactly what emotionally healthy men are looking for. A space where they don't have to be perfect, but where they can be real. She holds people accountable for how they treat her, not just how they feel about her. She knows that feelings are important, but they're not enough. It's easy to say the right things when emotions are high. It's much harder to keep showing up when life gets real. That's why she watches for patterns of effort, emotional availability, and mutual respect. She's not impressed by grand gestures if they're followed by disappearing acts. She'd rather have quiet consistency than loud inconsistency. This kind of discernment comes from experience. She's been through situations where the chemistry was electric, but the behavior was chaotic. She's learned that the strongest relationships are not necessarily the ones that start with the biggest spark, but the ones that build steadily with trust, communication, and shared values. So now she listens less to the rush of her emotions and more to the rhythm of someone's actions. That's how she protects her heart, by aligning it with her wisdom. She's not afraid to be alone while waiting for that level of consistency. She doesn't compromise her standards just to have someone next to her, because she knows that temporary companionship isn't worth long-term confusion. She believes that the right person will not only show up, but stay, grow, and commit. And until she finds that, she's at peace in her own company. This clarity is rare. Many people chase passion and wonder why they end up hurt. But she's done with that cycle. She's no longer impressed by a fast start. She's looking for follow through. The best men respect that. They see her not as someone who is hard to get, but someone who is hard to lose, because once she feels safe, once she feels supported, she gives her all, loyally, lovingly, and consistently. That's what makes her different. That's what makes her unforgettable. She doesn't just want to feel something, she wants to build something. And the man who earns a place in her life is the one who understands that love isn't proven in a single moment. It's proven over time, through effort, through presence, through consistency. And once he shows up that way, he won't just win her attention, he'll win her trust, her heart, and her partnership for the long haul.